Please accept our heartfelt condolences in your time of loss. Suppose these words are meant to comfort me. If they don't even come close to drowning out the echoes in my head. I still hear it. Every day I still hear the barrage of gunshots and the screams of my friends. Senseless. That's what makes it so terrible. There was no reason for it. They were just there. Their last thoughts were probably about the night before, some silly test they forgot to study for. And they were gone. I remember Mrs. Clark. She taught us about the people who changed the world. She told us of the struggles of Sojourner Truth and the heroism of Amelia Earhart. She taught us about our own possibilities. And now she's gone too. We sat in class and listened about those who challenged the world and brought change. I believed women like Sojourner Truth could see what was wrong and correct the status quo. I believed women could challenge the doctrine of men and become the heroes of the future like Amelia Earhart. But that's just history. Politics of the wealthy. Nothing ever really changes.
The future has a way of staying in the past if we let it in.
What?
Change comes from pain. No contented person ever made anything change. You have to lose something to want something to be different. Sometimes loss has a way of pushing us on. I have known loss in my time. It hurts to the quick.
Does it ever end?
Nah, it don't. Sometimes it fades, but if it is important, ne'er leisure entirely.
Then how do you go on?
You're old enough to feel, old enough to know something ain't right. When you know it ain't right, then you know you have to do something. That's how you move on.
You make it sound so easy.
No, child, life is a hard battle. If it weren't hard, it wouldn't be worth the effort. The important thing is not to allow life's light to be determined by the darkness around us.
I do feel surrounded by darkness. I fear it the most. I feel completely engulfed by it and helpless.
Use your fear. It can take you to the place where you store your courage.
Courage does have a way of popping up when we least expect it. And who might you be?
Amelia.
This is Amelia Earhart.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm Sojourner.
Sojourner Truth, I know. You made things possible for me.
Did I now? What might they be?
Amelia was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic.
The reports of my heroism have been greatly exaggerated.
How do you mean?
If you're talking about the flight in 1928, well, I didn't do much flying.
We studied about your flight. You flew from Newfoundland to Wales. It was a landmark flight. You made headlines worldwide.
It was all just a publicity stunt. I was just a passenger. Now, I do have to admit that the flight in those days was dangerous. 3 pilots had died within the same year trying to be that first woman to fly across the Atlantic. But my hands never touched the control the whole time.
Why? I always dreamt that people would someday be as free as birds. I never dreamt they'd fly like them.
What do dreams know of boundaries?
What about your solo flight in 1932? Vice President Charles Curtis said you displayed heroic courage and skill as a navigator at the risk of your own life.
Yes. Only Lindy had ever made the same trip. The 1932 flight made all things equal for me. I felt the flight proved that men and women were equal in jobs requiring intelligence, coordination, speed, coolness, and willpower.
It's the willpower that gets you through the day.
Just another name for being bullheaded stubborn.
I suppose it is.
It also helped that both of you were grown women at the time of your achievements. You were taken seriously by then.
I may have been grown, but I was a Black woman who has spent most of my life owned by men.
And my time, women weren't expected to wear pants and climb into a cockpit. We were up against the old guard. We had to get them accustomed to the unexpected. The unexpected then becomes what it really is, the inevitable.
Now it's your time. You be the unexpected voice. It's your generation that needs to be heard. Show them the change that is coming is inevitable.
Children are seen and not heard. Those who make the decisions don't even know we exist, and they do nothing to change anything. They just send letters.
What is it you're holding?
It's a letter the school wants me to read at the assembly.
Who's it from?
The president.
Of these United States? Oh, now that's something. Nothing more filled with privilege than a letter from the president. You know, I received several letters of accommodations from the President Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, that had to be something to read.
Oh, yes, indeed. I just wish I had been given the opportunity to learn to read. I would love to have heard his words in my head. Such an elegant speaker. I'm sure his writing would have been really something to read.
Why don't you read your letter for us?
Oh, yes, please do that. I would love to hear what a president of this time would say to a child who has survived so much pain. You get a real good measure of a man by the words he thinks are important enough to write down.
My heart and those of my family go out to you. I cannot imagine what you are going through at this time. Believe me when I say that the nation is praying for you and your family, and to all the families who have lost someone from this tragedy. Please accept our heartfelt condolences in your time of loss.
Not every president can be a Lincoln.
I suppose presidents aren't elected for their speeches anymore.
No, by money. And when something needs to be done, they ask who can pay them the most, and then they do nothing.
Those wise old men have been having our rights for so long that they think like a slaveholder, that they own us. I know that it's hard for them who have held the reins for so long to give up. It cuts like a knife. It will feel all the better when it closes up again.
Old men become too comfortable and complacent. You can't expect to change them. Leave them on the ground behind you as you change the world around them.
Yes, certainly easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. They are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. If there's no struggle, there's no progress.
I want to be in the struggle. I want to make them change. But what can someone my age do? I'm still in high school, barely a woman.
Barely a woman? I see a full woman, and if there's a first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down alone, then women today together ought to be able to turn it right back and get it right side up again. And them old comfortable men is asking us to do it because they take no action. So they best just step back and let us do what needs to be done.
The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Everyone needs a runway to start a flight from, but if you don't have one, grab a shovel and build one for yourself and for those that will follow after you.
Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns. No man can heed me. I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. I born 13 children and seen them all sold into slavery. and I became the first Black woman to sue a white man and got my boy back. It makes no matter if you are a boy, girl, man, or woman. What matters is who you are, and your actions define you.
I want to do something.
Use
not
what
sure
God
how.
gave you. Use your voice.
But I am only one voice. Who will listen?
You have 2 listening right now.
You must believe there are others out there who feel the same as you. Every choir starts with one singer. You start singing, and believe me, more will join in.
I don't feel like singing. When I'm not frozen with fear, all I feel is anger. Anger that one person with a gun destroyed so many lives. When I remember what happened, I get so angry.
Kill someone?
No. I don't know. Some days, all I feel is anger.
Anger can be good, a good starting point, but it never leads to positive change.
You've seen what most people won't ever see. Start from there. Start from what you saw. You saw the lightning and heard the thunder, and that was the guns. And then you heard the rain falling, and that was the blood falling. And when it came to get into the crops, it was the dead that was reaped. Make people feel what you feel. Make them see.
Every time I try, I fall apart. I can't even walk into school. I keep seeing her. As we were running, I see Jamie in front of me. I see her falling, bleeding. I didn't stop to help her. I just kept running.
It ain't your fault that you're a survivor.
I survived. I'm not a survivor.
You made it out of a great tragedy. You had friends that didn't. What is left is what you can offer those who no longer speak for themselves. What is left is what you can do for yourself.
It's not just what you feel from losing your friends that must be healed. It's a deep wound that can only be healed by taking action.
Haven't you listened? I am frozen with fear.
I am the seed of the free, and I know it. It may have begun with a moment, a word which grew to an hour, a speech, but it started with what I felt in my heart. I saw what needed fixing, and I set out to fix them.
It starts from where you are now. Not everyone who survives comes to where you are. You are here because deep down, you know something must be done. Something must change. This is the moment you are in now. This is the moment that has been offered to you. You cannot refuse it. Deep within you, there are no borders, just horizons.
Mm-hmm.
You have it in your heart to fly.
I believe you. I want to do something. Tell me how I can make anything different.
Tell us about your friend. Tell us about Jamie.
She was my best friend. She was kind and generous. She loved animals. Jamie wanted to be a vet.
She had a passion.
It was not just a passion. It was something deep inside of her. There was this dog on our street that was always on a chain behind a fence. All of us were scared of it. All of us except Jamie. He would growl and bark at anyone who came by his yard. Only when Jamie would walk by, he would just sit and wag his tail. It was almost as though he knew Jamie was different, not a threat.
She had a kind soul. She would have made a difference in this world. That's a great loss.
And now she will never be the wonderful person she was going to be. And I let her die to save myself.
No, that is not the place to go. You didn't pull the trigger or sell the gun or make it legal. That could have been you on the floor with her. You were just a little luckier that day.
I don't feel very lucky.
Well, maybe not yet, but you will see it someday. What matters now is what you do with it. And know that what you do must be out of kindness and not anger.
Mhm.
One kind action leads to another.
Kindness washes out on the world like a huge wave. It all starts with one individual drop of rain.
And a single act of kindness throws out all roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees. The greatest work that kindness does to others is that it makes them kind themselves.
Let individuals make the most of what God has given them, have their neighbors do the same, and then do all they can to serve each other. There's no use in one man, one woman, or one nation to try to do or be everything. It's a good thing to be dependent on each other for something. It makes us civil, peaceful.
We are not two fools who dream that changing the world is easy. We know it's not.
But you have to do the changing while the water is stirring. You got to step into the pool. I'm for keeping things going while things are stirring, because if we wait until it's still, it will make take a great while to get it going again.
You will find your place and soar above those who try to hold you down. Once you feel the rush of your destination coming towards you, there will be no one powerful enough to alter your course.
Of course, you have the right not to accept the inevitable. Many do. But when you find out just what any people will quietly submit to, you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them.
What about those who would lobby against me, who would want to bury my words?
There ain't enough dirt or holes deep enough to cover the truth. You can feel safe in the midst of your enemies, for the truth is all powerful and will prevail.
It doesn't matter what others do. The only thing that will matter is what you do.
Look above you, sky. Those are the same stars, and that is the same moon that looks down upon your brothers and sisters, in which they see as they look up to them. You all share them. They don't belong to any one person. I know I'm going to be up there someday because I'm going to die. I'm going home like a shooting star. Our bodies may leave this world, but it's our deeds that keep us alive. Decide if your friend's death will be the ground or the stars. Decide if you want to be buried or fill the sky.
I will never forget the friends I have lost. I want their lives to mean something. I don't care as much about my life or being a shining star, but I do want to make sure that the world does not forget the tragedy of their deaths. I want them to live forever.
Now that's a start.
What is?
Your desire to honor friends, to make sure it never happens again. That's your voice, your message.
How do I make sure what I'm going to say is heard?
Well, I always felt the choirs are best heard when they stand.
You have to get some wind into those wings to get a proper lift.
Now what?
Now, just open your heart and get your brain working with your voice.
Shouldn't I start by writing something down? Didn't you write it down first?
Oh, no, honey. I just opened my mouth and the world just leaped out. Come down. You know what you want to say. Just let it go free. Look straight up there. These folks are desperate to have some freedom thrown at them.
This is not the time for heartfelt condolences. I am Tamara Domani. Today, I am standing for my friends who no longer have a voice.